Well, let's now go to Osama bin Javaid. He's in the Qatari capital, Doha, at a global security summit that's taking place here. Osama, can you talk us through any reaction you've been hearing there to today's announcement from the ICC?
Well, there has been the focus of these talks have been essentially the war that has gone on for 7 months. And in the last hour, when this news broke, we've been hearing from multiple aspects of both journalists and people who are from the Israeli side, as well as those who are close to the Palestinian side, about how they feel about these warrants. And to discuss that further with us are two important members of both sides, Levy and Buttu, who's a lawyer who has represented the PLO. But first, we'll go to Gideon Levy, a prominent columnist. You are on the board of Haaretz. Tell us, what is going to be the initial reaction? Obviously, this is Karim Khan seeking arrest warrants. They haven't been issued yet. But a sitting prime minister being asked by the International Criminal Court on a litany of charges. What does this mean for Israel?
First of all, me personally, on one hand, I'm very surprised because Karim Khan didn't make this impression that he will be so decisive. On the other hand, I must tell you, I feel some kind of satisfaction. If there were wars of crime, when there were wars of crime, there are also criminals of war. And I think everyone knows that there were wars of crime conducted both by Hamas and Israel, and therefore the fact that the international community is bringing those people to court should encourage any man of justice, any human being of justice. As for Israel, Israel will again protect itself with this wall of the whole world is anti-Semite and the whole world is against us, and it will unite again the Israelis in a very nationalistic, even more nationalistic wave, and everyone will feel so just and such a victim by this evil decision. I think it's a just decision.
Well, that question of victimhood, we've heard from Hamas saying that there has been no justification for the arrest warrants that have also been issued for the leadership of Hamas. How do you see this arrest warrant, and what will this mean going forward?
Look, I think that there was a lot of both sidesism that Karim Khan is now doing. And the point that he was doing this both sidesism is because he's looking and seeing that there is a genocide that Israel's perpetrating, a genocide that Israel's been very open about perpetrating, with over 35,000 Palestinians killed, mass starvation, 15,000 children killed. And in order to balance it out, he has to make it seem as though he's addressing both sides. But if we want to be honest, we should be looking at what it is that the government, the Israeli government, has been doing, the orders that it has issued to its soldiers, and it's issued orders to its soldiers to carry out a genocide. If this court is to have any credibility, it should be going after the people who are committing genocide rather than just simply trying to play this game of both sidesism.
Now let's come to what does it mean going forward. Israel is not a signatory of the Rome Statute. You've heard from U.S. leaders writing a letter, actually, pressuring the ICC. So we're still in the early phases. There is a request for arrest warrants. They haven't been issued yet. Do you think they are going to be issued, and can they be enforced?
I don't know if they can be enforced, but you cannot underestimate the effects. The fact that an Israeli prime minister will or might become wanted in all kinds of corners of the world and will be prevented of traveling must have an effect. It's unprecedented. It was never the case, for sure not in a country which is supposed to be a democracy, which considers itself as a democracy. And you have to see the overall picture. It's not one case. It's an overall picture in which the world, the entire world, more and more so, more loudly and more clearly tells Israel, enough is enough. We had enough with you.
Dana, same thing to you. Do you really think that enough is the message that is going to resonate in Israel? Because a lot of this is going to be mostly symbolism rather than actual actions on the ground.
You're right. It is going to be mostly symbolism. But I do hope that that symbolism translates into something. If it gets into the minds of Israeli soldiers, that they too may one day be charged with war crimes, that it will make it very difficult for them to travel the world and to go and be in the Israeli army, carry out a genocide, and then somehow end up in places around the world, maybe they will think twice. The bigger problem with the ICC is that we've seen that it's a court that seems to go after leaders from African nations and is going after Putin, but it doesn't really do anything to go after the big offenders, the people who are committing genocide. So we'll see what happens, but I do think that this is going to have at least some sort of, it will resonate somewhat inside Israel, and people will perhaps begin to question what it is that they're doing.
Running out of time. Thank you very much to both of you, Levy and Buttu and Gideon Levy. There you go. This is the reaction from both sides of the aisle, if you wanted to call it that, from the Palestinians as well as the view from Israel, where, yes, there is acceptance that this might just be symbolism, but it is going to resonate not just in Israel, but beyond its borders as well.
Osama bin Javaid speaking to people at that Global Security Forum for us here in Doha. Thank you, Osama.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.